Why do we show up today and not perform the way we're capable of? And all the reasons guys miss, all that's fine, but that's the way it's been.
They were MIA in the first one against the Panthers and pulled a redisappearing act for the rematch, but we're not going anywhere. Welcome, everyone, into 10 Sports Extra. I'm Chris Fisher. The Gators sent 2 coaches packing, and the latest BCS rankings are causing controversy. But we kick things off tonight in the Queen City. Buccaneers going for their 4th straight win against the hottest team in the NFL, the Carolina Panthers. Opening Bucs possession of the game, Mike Glennon hooking up with Tyquan Underwood. They connected twice on this drive, leading to a 27-yard Ryan Lindell field goal, 3-0 Bucs. Ensuing Panthers possession, Cam Newton putting his Superman cleats to use. Flying down the sidelines, his kryptonite, Deshaun Golson, a 56-yard carry for Cam. He had 68 yards rushing total, leading to Newton. Firing to Brandon LaFell, 7-3, Panthers out in front. Later in the first, Panthers with the rock again until Keith Tandy comes up with his 3rd INT of the season, leading to another Lindell field goal. Bucs close the gap to 1, 7-6. Second quarter, Bucs on the attack. Glennon to Vincent Jackson. 60 yards tripped up inside the Carolina 5-yard line, setting up this 3rd and goal. Glennon flush from the pocket, the pivot point of the ball game. Looking into the end zone, but the ball pops loose, recovered by Carolina. That would lead to a field goal. Now 10-6 Panthers. Just before the half, Panthers facing 4th and goal. Bucs looking to pull off this stuff, but they can't stop Superman from soaring over the top. Newton with his only rushing touchdown of the game. 17-6 Carolina at the break. Newton accounting for 331 yards of offense. 3rd quarter, Glennon under duress, fires, and is picked off by Mike Mitchell. Glennon's 2nd turnover of the game. He'd finished without a touchdown toss for the first time in his young career. Panthers turn the INT into points. Newton to Ted Ginn, 36 yards for the score, 24-6 Carolina. Adding injury to this insult later in the quarter. Newton fires. Darrelle Revis nearly picks it off, but he'd have to be picked up off the ground, injuring his shoulder and his chest. He already came into the game with a groin injury as the Bucs dropped their first game in 4, 27-6 the final. Carolina gets their 8th straight win. Panthers started the year at 1-3. Bucs falling to 3-9, and Schiano called this one a collective team disappointment.
This was a team top to bottom loss, starting with me. So we got to figure out how we're going to get some of these things back to where we were doing them successfully. My hat's off to Carolina. I think they had something to do with it for sure.
Like I always say, you can learn from the good, you learn from the bad, and there was some bad today that I'll learn from, and you have to look at it that way. There's always, I'm not going to make the same mistake twice, and so I'll go back, watch the film, and go from there.
Let's take a look at the numbers. Bucs' worst yardage output of the season, outgained 426 to just 206. Both trips to the red zone came up empty, just 1 for 10 on 3rd down conversions, and Glennon sacked a career high 5 times. Joining us now for some point counterpoint 10 News, Bobby Lewis. And it was only 5 games ago, during the Bucs' last big loss to the Panthers, the Pewter and Red Faithful were calling for the head of Greg Schiano. Does he still deserve to be fired?
Absolutely. I mean, I know we live in a culture where the only thing that matters was what happened today and maybe yesterday in a big instance. But do you not remember the guy who lost 8 straight games to start the season? I know, yeah, they won 3 out of 4. That's great. They've had a good month. But they lost 8 straight games. I don't understand how this wave of positivity has just kind of come over the Bucs fans lately. You can't forget what's happened, and that's a huge downfall for the Bucs to start the season 0-8. That's almost unforgivable.
But I see Mike Glennon, his maturity process right now, and the fact that he's passed for more touchdowns than any other Bucs rookie, more passing yards than any other Bucs rookie. Do you want to actually make him take a step backwards and bring a new offensive coordinator and a new coach?
I don't know if it's really going to affect him either way. He's done well, and they've had turnover. They've had guys get hurt, so he's dealt with changes. You see the billboard, fire Schiano. Obviously, fans weren't happy when they were 0-8. What's changed in the last month? They've had a good month. So have the Jaguars. They went 3-1 this month. You know who didn't? The Colts, the Lions, and the Bengals. They all went 2-2, and they're in first place. So are the Bucs better than those teams? Maybe the Lions, because they beat them head-to-head. But I don't know that you can say this is a good year. If you go out to eat and you have food poisoning 8 straight times at the restaurant, are you going back to that restaurant? No. You are never going back to the Schiano Bistro or whatever you're going to call it. It's just unbelievable to think that, yeah, we won 3 out of 4, so we're going to keep this guy. He's awesome. You know?
I don't think the Glazers are going to make a move because they still owe him $5 million over the course of the next 3 years. We saw when they paid off John Gruden what it did to the franchise's budget when they hired Raheem Morris and paid his contract. Bringing in another new coach, having to pay that contract and Schiano, that's not going to help out the budget any better.
No, but they've done it in the past, so they might do it again.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the final 4 games left on the Buccaneers' 2013 schedule. Next Sunday, they'll host the Buffalo Bills. E.J. Manuel making his return to the state of Florida, the former Florida State quarterback. Then Jim Harbaugh and the surging back-to-back winning San Francisco 49ers close out the Ray J home schedule. And the final 2 games for the Bucs will be on the road, heading to St. Louis to take on the Rams, and then closing out with NFC South foe, the New Orleans Saints. Join the conversation as Greg Schiano earned another season on the Bucs sideline by logging on to 10 News Facebook page and sharing your thoughts.
A very frustrating, difficult day that ends a very frustrating, difficult season. That's the best way I can sum it up.
At a school where the fun and gun flourished and the read option won national championships, the Gators were left with no option but to fire offensive coordinator Brent Pease today. Pease and offensive line coach Tim Davis were shown the door since the Florida offense has been one of the doormats in the SEC, ranking 110th in the country, averaging 19.9 points per game, and in consecutive years has finished in the bottom 4 of the conference. Gators beat writer David Jones tells us Pease's system was never really a fit in Gainesville.
If you look at the statistics, the numbers are actually pretty close to last year. They actually threw for more yards this year, believe it or not. But the formula, I think, that he brought with him from Boise State just does not match up with the SEC. The longer he went along, the more he started to realize you get a real fast guy in the SEC, somebody's going to catch him in a couple of yards.
56-yarder. Does not have the leg. And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game.
It may have been the best finish to a college football game ever, but to a computer, it wasn't enough to catapult Auburn to the #2 spot in the latest BCS rankings. Florida State is #1 for the first time since they last played for the national title back in 2000. Urban Meyer and Ohio State are second, then Auburn at third. Bama falls from 1st to 4th. 5th-ranked Missouri will face Auburn next Saturday right here on 10 News in the SEC championship game. As for the #1 team in the nation, Florida State is headed back to the ACC title game. Fresh off a stomping of the Gators in the swamp. No decision on Jameis Winston's sexual battery allegations are expected this week, so he should be in uniform as the Seminoles take on the Coastal Division champs, the Duke Blue Devils.
I know one thing, they're 10-2, and they've won 10 football games, and they're very well coached. I know David Cutcliffe for a long time and his staff. They'll have them ready to play. They're extremely well coached. They're having great because when you win that many games in a row, their confidence is going to be high too.
It's a faceless opponent. Like, just because we playing Duke, that don't mean that we let up. That don't mean that we think less of them. I mean, they deserve it. I mean, in the ACC, they won inside division, and we playing them, so this is going to be a hard-fought game.
Next Saturday in Charlotte, the last hurdle for the Noles before the BCS championship game. Going for back-to-back ACC titles, Duke has won 8 straight games. FSU opening up 29-point favorites. We're headed back to the NFL. Dolphins trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. See if they grounded the Jets next. Talking college hoops, Miami shoots down Arizona State in the Wooden Legacy Classic 60-57. Ryan Brown threw down a dunk with 33 ticks left to lift the Canes to their 2nd straight W. Speaking of Miami, the Dolphins began the day on the outside looking in at an AFC wildcard playoff spot at MetLife Stadium, taking on the Jets. New York driving just before the half. Geno Smith adding to his league-leading interception total with 19. Donnell Ellerbe picking it off. Then in the third quarter, Fins up 6-0. Brian Hartline, he's going to scamper into the end zone. Fins on top, 13-3. Ryan Tannehill wasn't done. Finding Mike Wallace. Tannehill, 331 yards passing. Fins pull off the W, 23-3. They're one spot out in the playoff race. Patriots and Texans locking horns in a tight one, and a former Buck pulling off a big play. LeGarrette Blount in the fourth quarter from 7 yards out to pay dirt. 28-24 Pats. Houston, they answer. Ben, how does that Tate? 10 yards into the house. Texans taking the lead right back, but they couldn't hold it. Steven Gostkowski, that's your game winner. Patriots win 34-31. That's 10 straight losses for Houston, the worst streak in their franchise's history. Now, I want you to tell us on 10 News Facebook page or Twitter that you don't know someone or even yourself that has gone this crazy during a game. This is one Auburn fan's reaction to last night's final play in the epic Iron Bowl.
No.
Yes. No. Returned by Chris Davis.
Come on.
Davis goes
Come on.
Davis gets
Go! Go!
BTDT, I've definitely done that. And that's all the time we have tonight on our 10 Sports section. We'll see you back here next Sunday. Make sure to wake up with the morning show and have a fantastic week ahead.